Welcome to another episode of Agency Exposed. As always, I have my two buddies around the silver table with me today, Mr. Brad Ayers and Ken Ott.
Hey, guys.
We also have a fourth person sitting at the silver table, another good friend that I've known for years, Mr. David Dutton. Welcome, David.
Hey, thank y'all for having me. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. David,
Yes.
I'm going to let you talk a little bit about yourself, but just from my perspective, number one, you're a really good man, a good friend.
Thank you.
You're an honest guy, which I've always appreciated about you. You're always straightforward. But the other thing that I love about you is you and I share the same love for marketing, and there's been many hours that we've talked online, over coffee and in person about marketing and creative marketing. And you've been a solopreneur now for many, many years, and you were one of the early guys online to really jump in and say, I'm going to make a living off of this. And you've done that very effectively. And I guess in the last several years, one of your projects, one of your many, is a company called Replace Your Mortgage, which you're an owner in that, and you've got a partner, and you've helped to build that into a brand. So we're going to talk about that. And so let's just dive right in and talk about, who is David Dutton?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm from Murfreesboro, graduated from Riverdale High School, and then I ended up going to Bible College in Chattanooga. Was not a good student whatsoever. Did not know what I was going to do for a living. Didn't want to go to the Army. Wasn't a blue-collarish person. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just don't know how to fix anything. And college was, I did not have good grades. I actually graduated with a 1.9 GPA from high school, which is shocking because I've written 7 books now. But still don't know what adverb is, but you pay people to tell you what adverb is now, so at my level. But went to Bible college thinking I was going to be the next Billy Graham. That was terrible. I'm not even that merciful with people, so I was like, that would not have worked out really well. But I kept gravitating toward business, and still wasn't sure what I was going to do. Then I made my first. I posted this yesterday on Facebook. I made my first $47 online overnight in the computer lab in Chattanooga from Marlon Sanders' affiliate program.
And what year was that?
Around 2000. So there was a wave. It was one of the first waves of starting to make money online. There's different waves. There's a 2008, 9-ish, 10-ish wave. Mm-hmm. There's like an e-commerce wave. Like I've seen the waves now because I've been doing this for so long. But yeah, probably like 2000, 2001, something like that. And I walked in computer lab, had $47 in my PayPal account overnight. Don't know who bought it. Still to this day, don't know who bought it, but it changed my life. I just posted yesterday because that was the start of my addiction of making money online. So yesterday, my wife and I took the day off, and we went and drove around the Natchez Trace, just hanging out. And I get a notification on Slack that we sold a webinar. Somebody bought from our webinar and made $2,400 yesterday, and I didn't work yesterday. And that's happened tons of times now. But that is addicting to me because time, if you ever looked at the 5 love languages, time is my most important thing. Mm-hmm. I work Monday through Thursday. I don't really work Fridays. I kind of leave it open. I've done that for years. So I do my money-generating activities Monday through Thursday, take Fridays off, and just leave it to hang out with people and see what happens in life. And, so dropped out of college. I was eating peanut butter and ramen noodles. Everybody had normal jobs. I did not have normal jobs. At one point, I was working at Little Rock Athletic Club, front desk. But I did that because I didn't have to use my brain, and I would go home and use my brain and my creativity, and I started making money online. Wrote my first book at 26 because some gray-headed, now I'm the gray-headed person, but like some gray-headed people with wisdom said that writing a book will change your life. And I was like, I'm hearing this enough to where it's a thing. So I wrote my first book at 26. I'm proud of it. It's on my library shelf, but I'm also embarrassed by it because it looks horrendous. But I was 26. I didn't know tons about marketing. Yeah. And then fast forward. So I've one of the stories that people like to hear that laugh, and y'all can laugh, and it does not hurt my feelings whatsoever, is I've never flown on an airplane. True story. Wow. I'm terrified to fly. I'm working on it. at 41, almost 42.
Now wouldn't be the time to start.
So-
I don't think. not with all this stuff.
Greyhound bus or Amtrak?
Yeah, I wrote. I should not say this, but I've ridden on Greyhound twice, like young, like not like yesterday.
You
like
want to
on a
do
family-
Greyhound when you're young.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it wasn't like yesterday on a family vacation. Like, all right, guys, we're all my wife and daughter, we're going to vacation and taking Greyhound or something. But like when I was young, I got on one, and that's a different culture. It's a very different culture, I will say. But you should ride it just as a science experiment, just to see what that's like.
Right, social experiment.
If it's a social experiment. It was very
It's
interesting.
not like some other foreign countries, though, where you have chickens and goats on the bus with you.
Good point.
Right.
Close.
It's our first world problem.
Yes.
Like, yes, it's our yeah. So, but one story people like. So, I am the king of outsourcing. That's one of the things that. But I learned that in 2007. I was doing everything myself, but I'm not really techie. I'm more techie than most in the room, but I have my right-hand man, Kevin, that does a lot of my tech stuff for me. I come up with ideas and then map it out to implement. But my buddy was making $12,000 a month in Slovenia with vacuumwizard.com, selling vacuum cleaners online. And he did not write any of the articles. He did not write any reviews. He would just pay people to write reviews. And this is 2007. And he was making $12,500 a month. I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to show people you can make $500 a month online, which is people's thoughts. Like they can't. There's a lot of people that can't see themselves making $10,000 a month. So you got to see it before you can do it. So $500 a month is like gangster money to some people, or $1,000 a month is a thing. So I said I'm going to pick a niche, and I'm going to make $500 a month passively. That was the goal. So I picked travel because travel's evergreen. Florida's not going anywhere. Colorado's not going anywhere. Things like that. And so before clickbait and all this, this is pre all this stuff that we just take for granted now. 7 places to eat while you're in Myrtle Beach, 5 places to see. This was not, in 2007, not prevalent. So I created coolestplacestovisit.com, and I started ghostwriting. I started hiring ghostwriters to write my articles because I don't fly there. I don't know anything about all that stuff, and I actually don't really care. Like, to be honest with you, I want to add value to people. I want to make sure like anything I put out is valuable, but my end goal was just to show people you can make money. And so started writing articles, and then my traffic started like doubling, and by the 4th month started quadrupling. So I started hiring like 25 articles a week out. Long story short, got up to about 2,000 visitors a day, and Google AdSense was on the site, and I was it paid my mortgage for years. Uh-huh. And the irony is, like, I've never flown on an airplane, and so people are like, "How do you make money, traveling and all that?" Well, that's how you do it right there. So I've had several websites. Kind of fast forward, written several books, all nonfiction. 2015, I started replaceyourmortgage.com with a partner. He was making about $9,000 a month. We teach people how to pay off their home in 5 to 7 years. It's legit. Obviously, we would totally be found out by now because 32 million people have seen our YouTube channel now, and stuff like that. So we would have been found out. And we have 5,500 clients. So class action lawsuit type stuff. If like we were scamming people, whatever, we'd be done. I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So it works. Of course, my family and I do it as well. But my business partner started the business. He was making about $9,000 a month, and then I wrote a book, got featured in the paper called "How to Buy Your Dream Home If You're Self-Employed." That landed me in the paper, and then he saw me in the paper, which is another reason why I write books, because people get noticed that way. And he saw me in the paper, was like, "Who is this guy?" And that book was ghostwritten, by the way. I've never said that publicly. I had that ghostwritten as well, because I know how to just put people together. That's one of the gifts I have. I think God gave me, and I've honed over the years. But met him. He was making $9,000 a month, teaching people, in a 3-hour live class. And then I was like, I can just double your business. And I wasn't arrogant. I just see stuff. And we started making like $25,000-$30,000 a month within a few months. And I was like, this ain't no hobby. And I had created Replace Your Mortgage. That brand didn't exist. I created my own brand. And then I kind of branded him. And then once it was serious, I was like, okay, we need to be partners, or I'm going somewhere else. And so we became partners, and now it's a multi-million-dollar business. And it's really cool.
Awesome.
And the product you sell is education, basically, right?
Education, membership site.
Yeah.
It's a one-time membership site. a one-time fee, $2,400, $4,000, which sounds like, crazy. It is crazy money, but when our average client saves $15,000 6 months,
Yeah.
I don't lose sleep.
It pays for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that
cool.
that I think is intriguing about you is you do on your own and have self-learned so many of the things that people hire agencies and us to do that we do for clients and bigger clients and multiple clients. So I think it's interesting. I think these guys specifically, since they don't know you as well as I do, would love to pick your brain about like from that kind of flip the chair to see like how you view agencies, how you hire people. So what are some of the things that because you've been both a customer and a provider, because you are your own agency in many ways for many years because you did it for other people. Even before you were a partner in this business, you did a lot of the things we would do.
Absolutely.
So I'd love to hear from you guys questions that you'd love to ask David.
Well, I think the biggest question I have is when you're doing what you've done in the digital marketing and advertising space for yourself, where you have skin in the game and you see the direct response of your checkbook. How is that different than when you hire an agency who may not have the same connection to the financial value of what you're trying to accomplish?
Tell me more. Like,
So again, you're not gonna, if you hire an agency, they're not gonna have the same passion you have for success.
For me, I'm very, very, very direct response. Even before I even knew what direct response was, I was poor, right? Peanut butter and ramen noodles. So like I had to get another human being to hand me money. Like, this is Bible college days. And so, and I still think about that now. I'm like, we're either making money or we're not. And so I just look for results, the bottom line. Now results can be different. And we're talking off recording is branding versus direct response and things like that. So they're both important. But I think when I'm interviewing an agency, I just want to know if we're getting results. And if we're, if I give you $1, then we're making $2, that type of thing. So that's honestly the biggest thing for me. And it's with everybody. Salespeople, I have 3 rules, like treat people right. Don't sign up somebody that should not be signed up. I'd agreed. Don't do that. We got to stand before God one day. And and then respect our brand. And then 3, sell stuff. You'll never hear from me because we don't do sales meetings. I don't really do sales meetings. Our culture, I just don't do that. And so I'm like, you're going to get a call if you're not doing one of those 3 or any of those 3. Same thing with the agency.
Yeah.
Just results.
So how do you what role do you play in your team, right? Like, and how big is your team? Like internal, external, whatever you would call it.
So I have an assistant. My partner has an assistant. We've probably got maybe 8 salespeople and 1 customer support person.
Salespeople being like direct sales, outgoing.
They book. Here's what's cool is
fielding calls.
We book hundreds of calls a month. I don't know how many. I hadn't looked in a while, but hundreds of calls a month right into our website. So it's inbound, and so and what's cool is we have 2. We have internal salespeople that don't pay for leads. They don't make as much, but they don't pay for leads. And then I consider a genius idea, and I don't say that all the time or whatever, but I had a kind of a stroke of genius at one point where to help us pay for our advertising, because it takes us about 3 weeks, 21 days for us to see if a campaign works, which is good but sucks too. Like, because you're like, you have to spend that money, And so we've got some guys that actually pay us for leads. For appointments, and we know how much an appointment costs us, and that goes right towards marketing. So it offsets, like, we've never had to take out a loan or anything, to go into debt to pay for it. So that's the type of thing. But yeah, about 8 people on our team.
Salespeople, and what other roles are on your team?
Just the 2 assistants and 1 support, and my partner Michael does support as well because he's more nerdy. I know more about home equity lines of credit than most people in the world, but
that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I wrote a book about it. Yeah, but it's not what I geek out on. I geek out on what we're talking about here, like getting another human being. Ever since I was 26, when I read Cialdini or Cialdini's book, whatever, Influence.
Yeah.
I think I've made a whole living just off maybe like 3 chapters, like social proof and authority, and one other chapter in that book has made my whole
That's good.
career, at 41.
One of the things that I've always appreciated about you, you've been you say you're not techie, but in a lot of ways, though, you prioritize things that we talk about, that we try to prioritize as well. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about, you put a big value on cost of acquisition and lifetime value of customer. I know that's really important to you. Can you talk a little bit about how you developed that understanding and method?
I've gotten better over the years. I was very lazy. I'm very transparent on things. And so most of the time I was lazy. I never would split test or anything like that. But now that we have a substantial business, I kind of grew up, I had to do the adult thing. And then so I know the leads, and I've gotten better at, once a human being has handed you their Visa, they're 6 times more likely to do it again. And so as long as you don't screw them, and so, which we don't. And so, I think it's really important that once you get them as a customer to sell them more stuff, if there's a solution, if you have a solution to their problem or whatever. And that's where a lot more money, is made on the back end. We need to do more of that with replacement mortgage. There's so many things like real estate investing we could do, but I'm working on some things right now that will help, with that. One of the things I want to do, and I've known, it's funny because some of the products that are coming out now, I saw this tiny offer thing the other day, and Jimmy D. Brown, who's an old school internet marketer, one of my big influences or whatever, he was doing this 15 years ago, but now like it's these younger people are coming out like, oh, I'll tell you what, let's do a low ticket information product, $27, maybe have a $37 upsell. And of course they call it a funnel, and funnel's been around for forever, but now, Russell Brunson made it sexy. And so, but I'm about to start testing, it cost us $3 to $7 per lead to get somebody to download our book. And that's usually what I lead with is a book. And so one of the things
is that a free book or a
free? Yeah, and you can get it on Amazon and all that. But we've since day one. I mean, because people trust people with books. And I like it because they're doing most of the marketing selling.
So as far as the authority, that's part of your authority strategy. Is
Absolutely,
you show the knowledge and unpack, because what you're selling is a very educational type of product. It needs to be educated first.
Big time.
And concepts, they're high concepts that you have to actually get into to even understand the strong concepts.
100%. I mean, I do it on everything, but this is more important because we already know there's the skeptical factor. You got to enter a conversation in people's heads, and we already know that they don't believe us.
So how do you? I know that you may have for what you market. There's people that are naysayers, or there's folks that can talk around it a little bit. How do you overcome that with more authority or with proof?
Yeah. Well, that's what so I've been doing this for a long time, this using this analogy too, but I look at it as if I wanted Bob to hand me his Visa. I visualize there's like this, the cylinder blocks that make, home, like the basement and the foundation, all that. Picture like a stack of those as high as Bob. And that's skepticism. And I've got to break that wall down so I can step over, Bob can step over and hand me his Visa. That's how I look at that's how I visualize this in my brain. And so what I do, there are certain things that you can do. There's several things you can do to have a preponderance of proof, and that I know what I'm talking about. Bob, I can help you grow your business. Bob, I can help you pay off your home early. Whatever that thing is that we're selling, I have to make it so obvious, including the offer. The offer's got to be good and all that, but let's just talk about authority and proof. I try to just stack that so it's obvious. And I got that from Dan Kennedy years ago, as far as just, he tells the story about the preponderance of proof and the attorney going in there and asking his team, hey, do we got everything? And one of the attorneys on the team said, yeah, I think we have enough. He said, and he got mad. He said, never send me in there with just enough, ever. So for instance, we did a contest where we gave away $10,000. And there's a page called replaceyourmortgage.com/proof where we have 150 testimonials. And they're not just like, Michael's good, Dave's good, Replace Your Mortgage is good. They're case studies, 150 case studies on one page on our website. So our sales guys will show that page. Like, you're skeptical, but 150 people, Bob Hutchins from, Franklin, Tennessee, and pictures and I have structured it, certain ways, before and after and that type of thing. That's just one example, but of course, writing a book about it. And when I write books, of course, for me, I'm a Christian, and I always feel like I got to stand before God one day. And ever since the very first book I wrote, I always act like, okay, if Brad doesn't ever give me $1 for buying, hire me or anything, if you never give me $1, I want you to walk away a better person just with my book. That's it. So when I do a book, I'm like, obviously, I design it to hopefully, get someone to buy something from me. But if they walk away, because here's the thing, I ran out of books the other day, but I always have 1,000 books. I always try to give away 1,000 books. I've probably given away 2,000 books over the years now, just in the past 4 years. But
just so you know, I have actually one of your books, and I didn't pay for it. It was given to me by a friend.
So that's awesome.
And I haven't met you, but this is the first time I've met you. So
that's awesome. So I look at that as renting shelf space and office space for $2.65 in your house.
Yeah.
And it's almost
it's evergreen. It's
exactly.
there. It's actually next to my bed.
Actually on his nightstand.
It is actually. It was on my nightstand for a while,
good.
and I flipped through it and read through it. And I'm like, oh,
I'm getting in your brain.
So
Right.
That's the goal of it, because while I'm sitting here, somebody is passing that around. And it's really good. It's 120 pages, and doesn't have to be 120, but it's like a thick, it's like, here it is, and here's the different angles. Mm-hmm. Here's how it works. Here's, proof. And then, we can make it better, because this is, when we started this, we had no proof. We had math. We had math as proof, which is another proof factor. Hey, here's the math. Like, here's the calculator. We didn't rig the calculator, which, we had some.
So you're building this case to go back to Brad's question of like, how do you deal with the naysayers? And what you're saying is, it's like I'm doing that work to make sure they let other people tell them.
So let me give you another example of what I did with proof, or I say we did, but it was my idea. But they, when we first started, there's a guy, I won't mention his name, but he is local, that has a radio show. It's not Dave Ramsey, but although we've been mentioned on Dave Ramsey too. But it's and we're fans, by the way. Anybody listen to this? We got we're fans of Dave Ramsey, but we're like post Dave Ramsey. Like, you already got a budget, you're not going under or whatever. A guy was arguing with us on social media. I call him Keyboard Cowboys. I actually grew up with this guy too, which was sad, but was ripping on us when we first started. But he's got a radio show. He's a financial planner. He's like, this don't work, whatever. And we're like, hey, get on the radio show. He goes, yeah, we'll come on the radio show. Well, an hour before, he canceled, because he thought we were bluffing. He thought we'd probably chicken out. An hour before, him and my partner Michael got into it, because because this guy called and was like, I'm not going to put you on the show. Why? You try to bash us online. So after that, and we have other people that have done that, and we still do, but not as much, because we got so much proof. Millions of people have seen our videos. So we started giving away $100, because we thought that was gangster money. $100 if you let us record a conversation. So Brad's a naysayer, and you're ripping us on social media. Tell you what you do: get on the phone with us, let us record it, show us proof mathematically that what we're teaching doesn't work, or you have a loan. Any loan, this is our thing. Any loan in the United States that can beat a home equity line of credit in first lien position. If you show us that, then we'll pay you $100. But the small print is, you got to let us take that recording and post it in the post that you're bashing us on. So we started at $100, then $300, then $500, then it's been $1,000 for a long time. Chris Hogan, who is a business associate friend of mine and one of Dave Ramsey's speakers, solid guy, man. He's got the most ridiculous voice ever.
He's a good guy, man. Oh, he's so good.
I heard him in Cracker Barrel at Spring Hill one day. That's how I met him. I awkwardly went up to him, because I heard him. There's nobody in Cracker Barrel, and he's like, my name is Chris Hogan. That Chris Hogan voice. And I was like, okay, that cat is not a speaker. That cat needs to be. But then I realized it was, Dave Ramsey. Anyway, we became friends. But I was on his forum one time, and I was like, what the hell? Like, I tried to give away $3,000. The post is still on there. I tried to give away $3,000 because Got 1,000, might as well give away 3,000. Nobody to this day has ever taken us up. I kind of got that idea, and we've never done it, but I've debated about giving away $10,000 because in New York, there's a restaurant that has a $10,000 hamburger. And nobody orders it except for like a celebrity. Like I think Billy Crystal ordered it or whatever. But they get so much publicity because who's offering a $10,000 hamburger?
Right.
So if we offer a $10,000 challenge, all you got to do is do it. But mathematically, it's game over. Like you can't beat us mathematically with what we do with a HELOC. So
I think that's so cool. I mean, I know we're sort of digging into what you're doing right now specifically, but I think there's so much to take away because
yes.
The replace your mortgage concept is one that is very unconventional, which brings on a lot of pushback in everyone's mind, right? Because it's got to be a scam because it's so anti what we've heard, right? And so there's automatically a barrier that's put up in, I would guess, most consumers' minds. I've seen the videos, and there's a barrier in my mind. Nothing logical, just like, oh, there's got to be a hook, right? There's got to be a catch or something like that.
Right.
So I think that's a cool case study because basically you have a big barrier to pull down.
Huge.
And you're doing it really successfully. And any business owner has a barrier,
Always.
right? And so I think there's a lot to learn about like how you pull that down, how you guys are pulling that down right now.
Well, let me explain this just because I didn't want to be a commercial for Replace Your Mortgage, but like I do all the stuff that I'm saying.
I call it de-risking the sale.
Yes.
Right. And so I don't know if there are other things that you do. Finish what you're saying, but like, yeah.
Well, I want to share in that same concept. Another thing that I think about, this is what I say to people all the time when I'll help them write a book or whatever. Picture you're in like one of those police lineups. So like realtors and insurance agents and, mortgage people or whatever, or website designers or whatever. Picture there's like 10 of you guys in a lineup and you basically got the same education, give or take. Why should I do business with you? And there's a prospect looking at all 10 of you guys. Why should I do business with you above everybody else, including doing nothing, doing it myself? I'm going to sell my own freaking house. I'm going to build my own website. I'm going to get my own traffic. You have to stand out. And my thing is, your biggest thing, you can't have white noise. Don't be white noise. You got to grab their attention first, build that desire. You need to use my agency to grow your business. Here's why. Whether it be avoiding mistakes or growing it or whatever. But you've got to like picture yourself, if you're an agency, there's 10, you're standing in a lineup with 10 other agencies. What are you different? So one of the things that I do, one of the strategies I get a lot of my clients to do when I hadn't taken a client in a couple of years because I've been busy, but is get a spreadsheet. And this is mostly for local, but you could do this in other places as well, nationwide as well. But get a Google Doc, get a spreadsheet, and then list maybe your top 5 or top 10 competitors. Just make their name. Go to their website, go through their marketing, write down the next column what you like. What are they doing great? Like, be honest. Like, don't be lame about it. They're doing something good. Like, what are they doing? Are they killer on customer support? Got a great offer? Is their branding good? Is their offer good? Their free opt-in, whatever. Put it all down. Put what you think they're horrendous at. And then you've got your top 5, top 10 competitors. Take that. Make sure you're not doing any of the bad stuff. Combine all the good stuff. And now you're at the head of the class. You're taking all the good stuff and from everybody. And so you can be brand new, but all of a sudden piggyback off of the knowledge. At some point, one hamburger stand said, let's do a drive-through. And then all of a sudden, what do you see now? Right. Everybody's got a drive-through. But at one point, somebody was the first person to do a drive-through. And so now it's, of course, we're going to have a drive-through. Why would you not have a drive-through?
Yeah.
It's normal.
That's good. So what are some other things that, again, especially with that's, by the way, that's really good. And honestly, there's a lot to unpack inside of that because, you may find that, their pricing is really low. So can we compete on that? And how do we do that? Or maybe their business model is slightly different or what, it's sort of like there's a lot of reverse engineering that goes on inside of that. I would say there's probably, if you don't do that stuff, you'll go out of business pretty fast, right?
Absolutely.
You got to make sure that it works, and you have to. But it's good because it forces you to innovate the business that you're in and to the business that you're going into. I'm really curious. Like, what are off the top of your head? What are other things that you do to de-risk your purchases to prove to customers that, hey, this is legit. And it's
so in this particular business, I use math. Number one, we use the calculator.
So it's logic.
Yeah, just like, here you go. It's logic. I mean, you can't argue it. Now, we've had some I call them Area 51 people, like, they were like, did you rig that calculator? Now, they're the 0.5% out of thousands of people that booked the call
the calculator.
True story. We're like, it's the same calculator. We pay the same license as Bank of America. Like, you can go look, it's the same calculator. So, but we've been accused of that, which is hilarious, But, so I think they're like the Sasquatch people or something,
right?
Worst
case scenario,
yeah. So anyway, there's that, but the weirdos are rare. But so we do math first. We do the book, do the branding, and these are very general. Like, just because we're doing, I mean, this applies.
Do you have any kind of like guarantee or money back or?
So yeah, that's another one. Thank you for reminding me of that. I forget that. So we do a 6-month. In this case, we do a 6-month money back guarantee. Not only will we give you your money back, and you have to use it. You actually have to go get a HELOC, close on it, and actually implement it.
Right.
If it doesn't work, not only do we give your money back, but we'll FedEx you $300 for wasting your time. So little Jay Abraham, if you know who Jay Abraham is, old school, like getting everything you can out of all you got. It was one of the top 9 books that changed rewired my brain. Risk reversal, the chapter on risk reversal. That's where I pulled that.
Right.
And just taking that risk.
How do you simplify your message for those who are not math
who don't know addition.
Yeah, they don't know how to do a
Yeah.
spreadsheet, or they don't know how to use this calculator and really make heads or tails out of it. How do you simplify?
So one is we offer to do, like, anybody can go to the website right now and do it, but we try to get people to book a discover call to discover their debt-free date. So we have our guys, which here's the cool thing, they're all clients. Just like hair club for men type thing or whatever, all of our salespeople are clients. They've are paying off their homes. Some of them got vacation homes because we have chapters. We have a chapter on buying a vacation home and all that. And so mostly we do it for them and just like, all right, here it is. And we give them worst case scenario. So one of our guys will do a 2%, because interest rate is one of the hot button in people's brain. Like, what if the interest rate skyrockets? That's actually in their brain. What if it skyrockets? It's not going to skyrocket. There's a federal cap. It can only go up 2% a year. That's like if Jesus is coming back, or like if who's that? Is it North or South Korea? Is that the crazy dude?
Yeah,
If South Korea is going to, North. Okay, so sorry, South Korea. If South Korea or if North Korea is wanting to push the button, and then also Jesus is coming back, then it's probably going to go up 2% per year. Okay, but if like. But here's the thing, you're going to get a job, you're going to probably get raises. It's probably not going to go up 2% every year for 15 years, number one.
Right.
Number two, you're probably going to get raises, better job. You're probably going to pay off debt. It's going to speed it up. But here's what we'll do. And I thought this was genius. I didn't create it. One of our sales guys, Derek Waltz, started doing that. But he'll put the interest rate that goes up. We think it'll go up 0.5% a year. That's what we just built into our calculator. But he'll change it and because you can put whatever, he'll put 2%. It goes up 2% a year, because that is the worst thing that can happen.
Right.
Can you live, Brad? Can you live with the worst thing in this? If you can, then cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Actually, I have a HELOC loan, and it's going down.
Yes.
Because the interest rates are dropping. So
yes.
So I get this notice that I'm my interest rate's dropping. That's good.
Absolutely. Well, it's awesome. I mean, again, not to be a commercial about my business, but even if it didn't work, even if it was apples to apples to a mortgage, we're selling 2 homes today and tomorrow, but we've had 6 rentals, and I'm just selling just because I got a lot of profit stored up in there. I just want to grab the profit out and buy more homes. But, if I didn't pay off our house in May of 2017, our first house, I couldn't have bought the house that I just closed on this morning. And, we made, I think maybe $55,000 today. Off of that, not counting maybe $30,000 in rent I've had for the past couple of years. But I did that because that house across the street was 4 days before foreclosure. And you can't go get a loan in 4 days, nowhere. So I told the bank, I'm like, hey, let me just wire the money, because I have it, because I had access in my HELOC and stuff. So, but anyway, I don't want to get off subject. But yeah, the risk reversal, the math.
Because I take your product and I look at clients that we have, and there's a lot of education sometimes with certain products. And trying to simplify the messages sometimes can be really tough, and that's sometimes a barrier for people understanding the real strong value propositions. And again, you bring authority to the table as well, and I think that's always really smart at the same time. But it's interesting if you take your product and we all take your story and try to visualize that and try to put that into the clients that we serve. You do what we actually suggest our clients do in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Is to build strong narratives, is to have authority, right? How do you build authority?
Social proof.
Social proof.
Because we're trying to go up in the herd.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're all trying to go up in the herd, and we want to know that Brad and Ken can, and Bob can, elevate us in the herd, of society. And we look to that. We trust people. There's certain trust triggers, and we trust people with books and stuff.
Yeah, and we also trust word of mouth. I mean, referral is probably the best form of marketing and advertising you can do. If you can get a referral from a trusted source, a friend, or somebody else that you trust, or a social proof, like you mentioned, Bob, is great. So how do you get folks? I know you talked about how do you get folks like this page that you have 100 or more case studies. How do you get folks to? How do you get those stories out of those case studies?
So this is an interesting thing. I don't know if I've ever shared this publicly, but I don't mind. It's interesting. I know you guys have all been in business for a while, so typically it's hard to get people to even post something positive. Now, if something negative happens, they're on Google reviews and Yelp and Facebook and everything. They're everywhere because that's just how we're wired, So it's hard, but you try to get them in the moment. That's the biggest thing. You try to get people in the moment once they've had a good experience hey, would you mind writing something, shooting a video is even better. And sugary testimonials are great. Bob is great, different things like that. That's great. But what you want to try to do is get before and after. And what did you think before? Okay, so what was your problem? What did you think of? Replace your mortgage. Prior. What did you find out after you handed us money? And then what happened as a result? And then the last thing, and I've used this formula that I learned from psychotactics.com for years. And would you refer us to anybody and why? And that's the formula right there. So I got the before and after and the negative, and then here's a cherry on top. Instead of just putting, and I'm not saying don't put headlines as Bob Hutchins did a great job. Do those are fine, but that's what they expect, and it's white noise.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But mix it with negative. So put the negative as a headline. So actually, I forget this because I haven't looked at my own book cover in years, but they look on our book cover, the very top, testimonial at the very top is Alicia Faith, and it says something to the effect of, we really thought this was a scam, but blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So you get the naysayers to read that, trying to align with their own vision, and all of a sudden during the story, they realize it's actually a positive outcome.
Absolutely.
That started maybe with a sentiment of a negative sentiment.
And so if you're an agency, let's just use it as an agency. If you're an agency, look at your top 5 or 10 objections, and then go get testimonials, go get case studies from people that had those things. Well, you're freaking expensive. Okay, we'll find some of those clients that you had success
and they say,
with.
I thought these guys were really expensive, but it's worth every penny.
Absolutely. Yep. But you put that, so when they are looking at your website, the negative snaps them out of the
interrupts the
pattern.
pattern.
Why do you think humans are drawn to negativity and
I don't know.
skepticism?
I wish I knew, because I know it's, and I don't like it. It's kind of like, I wish it wasn't like that. It's kind of like, there's a verse in the Bible, man looks on the outward, God looks on the heart. And I don't like that, but it's never going to change.
Yeah.
And so I use that because this is where we live on this planet. And I wish people didn't think about the negative. They thought about positive more than negative. But for whatever reason, that's a good Google search. I know
that's a deep thought, isn't it?
It is.
It's hard
I would actually
that,
nerd out on that.
I have a theory, and I think there was a study that came out. I think we may have talked about this on the program, but it stuck with me a few years ago. Somebody was talking about a study that came out, I think in the late 90s. I'm not sure, maybe early 2000s, but a bunch of psychologists did a study, and what they found is that negative information sticks to your brain instantly like Velcro, Whereas positive information, it takes about 20 seconds for it to
Oh, wow.
And so depending on what your worldview about humanity and evolution and other things like that is, we at a time in our humanity's lineage, there was an important reason for responding to negativity quickly. It was called survival, fight or flight, right? So if a bear's coming, you don't have time to analyze that and say, should I run or should I just stand here? Let me think about it. That negativity is wired in your brain to go run quickly. So I think today we don't have bears chasing us, but we have people saying negative things about us. We have people looking at us weird. We have other things that our brain immediately, like it sticks to us. You can get 10 positive emails, but that one is what keeps you up at night, right? And so for me, one of the things that I've tried to institute in my life is when I see something positive and I like it, I know it's not going to stick in my brain. So I try to reread it and meditate on it and sit with it so that it does stick and overcome the negative things that automatically stick.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, that's one. I mean, I don't know if that's an answer to your question.
The other thing with that is, what I believe, I totally agree with you guys. But just being different is important, right? Like, I mean, everyone does positive reviews, and so that's what everyone's listing on every page. You expect it, you just get blind to it, and so the fact that it's different alone helps. In fact, we work exclusively in e-commerce, and there's the tactics that consumers take sometimes, which is to leave a 5-star review just with a negative comment just so that it gets seen.
No.
Yeah.
How gangster is that?
It's a trend, but it's actually kind of cool.
Wow. Props to the consumer, I guess?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
I don't even know what to say with that.
I know.
It's a 5-star negative review.
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
But it's a trend. Unfortunately, the algorithms don't really, I guess, weigh it negatively. But
my mind is. I'm sorry, my mind just got blown right there because I'm like, I don't even have that much brain. I'm just like, either I like you or you don't. I'm either one way or the other. I'm not. That's
strategizing how to hurt you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just man. Okay, that's where we're at.
But the other thing is also, I think that just being genuine, right, is key. So like, and I think that's again, as we're pulling takeaways for any business, especially agencies, there's this, like, with any business, and I see in the agency world all the time. In fact, I saw it on a Facebook ad from an agency like just 2 days ago, and we're tempted to, and it's kind of like our premise of our podcast. Everyone says everything's great. Look at this client. Everyone's happy. This is what we got. Top results because we're awesome and blah 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 blah.
Yep.
And it's almost not believable.
Totally.
If it doesn't, it's not believable if it doesn't have some element of reality. So there's obviously skepticism in every single sale. And so saying it and calling attention to it actually makes it more believable.
Well, nobody's really doing this. I mean, like I said, Sean, and like I said, this is not my idea. Sean, I got to give him props because I've made a lot of money off his stuff. But Sean he's in New Zealand, psychotactics.com, and he has a whole product just on this one thing. And I don't see it anywhere. Like, I don't see people. That's exactly what I see is what you just said, the positive. That's what people expect. And you can have positive, but just use the negative as well and put it in a headline and just grab their attention.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think, as a brand, as when we market our clients' products, we see both positive and negative. And how do you take the negative and actually do something that's positive within your organization? Or how do you take that information and actually either learn from it or use it to actually prove your point further, right? And I think, so those are some great tactics, especially how to, take something. And not everyone has a perfect positive experience, but they still would rate your product a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
They had a good enough ending that it was definitely positive and worth it, even though there were some struggles. And then we find that too, is that we get a little bit of both.
And then it can hurt you, I think, I think people are wise to what's human and what's not. So if you've got, 1,000 5-star reviews on Amazon and every single one of them sings the praises of your product.
Doesn't seem real.
Most people are like, something's wrong.
Something's
here.
wrong.
Something's not right. I'm gonna go to the one that has the 4.5 or the
Yes.
4-star review, because at
Yes.
least I can see that those are real people. Human beings don't give 5-star reviews to every single thing
Yes.
all the time, right? So that
Right.
can hurt you if you're
Yeah.
not the inauthenticity.
Well, I think about, and I got this thought process. I like to give props to people that kind of influenced me, and I've made millions from Dean Jackson. I love marketing.com and More Cheese, Less Whiskers, and those podcasts are phenomenal. And I try to think about one person, kind of back up just from reviews, but back to authority and proof and lessening risk as a prospect. I literally just think about who the person I want to hand me money and what can I do to make it so obvious. And there's a thing, I can't think of his name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue, but he had this thing called gun to the head marketing. If you actually had to get somebody to freaking, give you money, are you really going to offer 10%? Like, come to my store and get 10% off? Okay, that's taxes. Okay, that's cool. I'm not saying don't ever do that, but really, like if you needed to get, God, I wish I could give this guy credit because I can see him visual. But he says, picture writing to this fat slob that's like 500 pounds, like your prospect, even though you're not in weight loss, but just picture this slob that's like sitting on their couch. And you have to get them to call you, fax you, which people still doing that. Call you, fax you, email you, book an appointment, whatever it is, buy something, whatever it is, whatever action you want them to do. And write just like you're writing to that 500-pound lazy person. Because if you do that, you'll get the 450, the 400, the 350, the 300, and so on.
Right.
And so make it powerful. So that's the offer, that's the proof, that's the story. And I can talk about, you're talking about simplifying your message. I'd love before we end at some point to go back to that a little bit because there's, but just think about one person. Now we know who buys from us replace mortgage. We didn't know at first, but now we've got 4 years of Google Analytics. And so now it's spot on. Not that we're not always trying to get more data, but we just like, okay, what is this person? What's keeping them up at night? How can we say, hey, here's why interest rates, like I know interest rates are the thing, here's why interest rates are not.
Something you're saying, the prerequisite for that is knowing the customer persona, right? The avatar, whatever you want to call it, with great detail of who you're actually going after, which we all know, everyone should know, especially working with clients. But again, I find that agencies and, almost are maybe the worst at that because they're like, everybody's my client. And then it's really hard to talk to the one person, with specificity about their pains, and also do what you're saying. I love what you're saying, like basically shoot for the center of the target, which is the worst case scenario person.
Yep.
Right.
All right. I'm going to give you something. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give you something that has made me a lot of money. And I'm not just saying that lightly, but I'm going to share something that will help people with this, that we've done, that anybody can apply. So one of the emails that I've written, and that's what I write, sales copy and email funnels as they call them now, and all that stuff, and sales letters and all that stuff. But one of the emails that I came up with that can help any agency, pretty much any business. The subject line was, and I still use it to this day, your top 3 questions answered about blank. Insert whatever. Insert e-commerce, insert, whatever. Today, and it's a little bit long, and I don't remember it exactly, but you can get the gist of it. In parentheses, I put like today only in the subject line. Okay, a little scarcity. Okay, and then it just says, hey, if you're interested in this topic, today only, I'm willing to answer your top 3 questions about blank, and I will answer them on a future newsletter. And all you got to do is hit reply to this email, and I'll get it, and then I'll choose yours or whatever.
That's good.
And so, and there's a little bit to it, but y'all got the gist of it or whatever. So here's what I did. I got that set up. One, I've got the person off the hook for having to answer because, we get hundreds of emails a day or whatever, so you can't just sit there and do that. So I got them off the hook, said, I'm not going to reply just to you, but I will get it. And so what we do is I have a Google filter. So you reply, goes to a Google filter, into a Google folder, and we have thousands and thousands of questions of what people want to know about blank HELOC or blank topic. Then I took that and put them on a spreadsheet and grouped them. And now I have not only do I have the topics, like, okay, Brad's saying it different than Ken, but like they're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I put them in a group and then I delete the duplicates, and of course I outsource. I have somebody else do this for me, but these are the things I think about in my money generating activities I do Monday through Thursday. This is the type of stuff I do. And so we got the spreadsheet, and then now I know the verbiage. I know the questions, the topics, and the verbiage. So now I write emails with their verbiage that's in their brain.
That's smart.
I'm curious to know, like in general, do they all boil down to a small set of questions?
They do.
Right?
And they always will.
They always will.
Yeah.
I think it was, I just recently, and I was sort of had mixed opinions of it, but I thought there's some good takeaways. There's a book called The Way of the Wolf by the guy who was the star in Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And I forget his name. But sales guy, Long Island guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It'll come to me. Anyway, Belfort.
Yeah,
right.
Jordan Belfort.
But he said he described one scene where his salespeople in this like little, if you know the story, he's got this sort of like stock selling team, right? And they're like, look, no one will buy from us. There's just millions of objections. And he had this like stroke of genius to him. He said, where he's like, all right, let's start listening to them. I've got a whiteboard here. We'll just keep going until we hit 1 million of them, whatever. And they start listing them. They start listing them all out. And by the end of the night, I forget, but they had it came down to under, I want to say 10 or 17 or something like that. Everything boiled down to a version of the same set of very small a small number of objections. And it's interesting because every business probably goes to the same objections. They're just kind of worded differently, verbed differently. But one tactic that we use, which is sort of similar, and I love that one, once you have those objections, you can run them as ads, you can run them as emails. There's all different ways of actually putting them in. And now that you're predicting what the person is thinking, you have a better chance of kind of getting that sale.
Think about back to authority. Here's one way. I mean, I've used them in email, but back to authority, I would do in an article. I would write an article, include those, but they don't look like objections. They don't look like, I wouldn't even phrase them as questions or whatever. It would just be like paragraphs, whatever, in this authoritative article, a blog post, and then you could run ads to that article. And it's educating. Like if you're in Tennessee, homeowner, you've seen those Yahoo and Taboola ads or whatever. If you're in Tennessee and have a 640 credit score or above, or 10% equity above, you should read this article or whatever. Something like that, and they read it and then have that in there, and it's like, oh, well, there's all my freaking objections. Like, this is not a scam.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's good.
I had maybe one last question, kind of to start bringing this full circle. Do you, when hiring agencies, individuals, outsourcing, are you someone that looks for specialist or do you look for generalist?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'm mostly specialist.
So you don't hire someone that can do multiple things. Like if you want a YouTube special guy, you hire a YouTube only person, not a digital ad person.
On that, yes. That's why I had a hard time answering the question, because the answer is on that is yes. But then sometimes, like my buddy Kevin, my tech guy,
he's a generalist.
He's a generalist, but he's just super nerdy tech, and he can just implement stuff that, it'd be like me putting the Barbie Jeep together for my 8-year-old, where I'm like, it says 1.5 hours, but it's 3 hours for me. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm here. Let me write a check. And so I want a specialist that kind of nerds out on that stuff, especially at our level, because we're spending like $4,000 a day, on advertising. So, it's some zeros on that thing. But yeah, definitely specialist. I want somebody that nerds out on what they do.
Interesting. So advice to this side of the table, agency owners.
Yeah.
What is it that maybe frustrates you, energizes you, excites you? Because I feel like you've kind of played on both sides. Like you've had clients, and then you are a client, and then you're kind of this solo guy that kind of works independently. What advice would you give to this side of the table who are?
This is going to be interesting, and I want to hear y'all's feedback. I don't study agencies. I don't, if I need something, I'm out shopping. Like I need a YouTube guy, I'm out shopping or whatever. But one of the things that what I tell people on marketing, I'm skeptical of a lot of people, but I'm skeptical of marketing people because a lot of them I feel like just read a $2,000 course and then they're in business and they don't have a track record. Everybody's got to start somewhere. I didn't have any record in Bible college when I started doing marketing and I was a kid and all that. But you got to start somewhere. But eventually you got to own your craft and get results for people. There's that. But I wrestle with agencies getting results. I wrestle with, and I'd love to have this discussion with you guys or whatever. But I wrestle, making sure that agents gets results, and then also I'd be curious to hear y'all's take on getting paid on the spend. A lot of them do that. That's really popular. I'm not a fan. We do have one person doing that right now. We have one person that isn't. That's our media guy, and one person that is. I wrestle with it every month.
Versus getting paid on results.
It could be results. It could be anything but spend. Because I'm like, whether you do a good job or not, you still get paid.
Yeah.
I still got to pay your invoice, and I wrestle with that versus maybe a mixture of that, maybe and or getting results. So like you're in the boat with us. If this fails, and some marketing will fail. Like I don't care about failure. Like let's just go freaking find the ad that works and all that. So there's no perfect thing, but you're in the boat with us. Like if you want to get paid $10,000 a month or more or whatever, or $50,000 a month, and I'm cool. I mean, we're not greedy or anything. So I wrestle with that. I'd love to hear y'all's take on that. If that's still a thing, I don't know how many do that, but I always felt like that's a thing with media buyers.
Versus what you're saying is like a straight percentage of whatever the spend is. They get paid no matter what on the spend.
Yeah, they get paid no matter what, and that's the contract. And a lot of them do that, but that's what I'm not a fan of. But maybe that it's straight, hey, pay $50,000 or $5,000 a month, and maybe it's straight doing that. But I get why they do it, because if they have a good client that can scale, like say replace your mortgage, I get they want to be on the upside, but there's no downside. It's like, okay, I didn't.
That's a great point. Well, you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
No,
this.
I mean, I think I think that's a complicated thing to unpack. Like we've actually tried several different things, and I think that you're right. Like when you get paid on spend at the top, at the 30,000 foot view, it's like, wow, your interests are basically not aligned, right?
And let me say this. Let me add one more thing before you get into it, because I'm excited to hear this. Let me and I think this will add to it too. We're not their only client too. Yeah. So how much are you actually looking at my stuff?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So there's that.
No. I mean, I also think that an external team or outsourcing, label it agency or whatever you want, isn't right for every business, right? Either. Arguably, like you're the master at your craft. So hiring a team that almost challenges that is not the best team makeup, maybe. But there are others that are not the master of the craft, and the agency or the specialist is the master of that craft. And I think that matchmaking, sometimes there's naivety about it that maybe should be talked about. The spend thing is interesting. I love to unpack this thing because I don't have a dog in I'm not even from the agency world originally, and so I don't have a dog in the race here. I believe it came about because it's like, okay, how are we going to measure meter resources versus what we get paid? And like the one of the easiest things to measure is like, okay, like the volume of ad spend that we. Mm-hmm. I imagine that's probably how it came about. I don't know.
It also goes back to the old ad.
Yeah, right. And it's been a tradition. I'm sure.
What is it? Yeah. Is that how they did it? Because
it's like a percentage, 15%, 20%.
Yeah, I mean
10%.
the old agency ways was we make money on media and we give away the creative for cost or almost free. Gotcha. Just because there's so much, people were buying obviously more traditional media, spending millions of dollars.
So, but you were putting more effort into the media. So when you saw Don Draper doing the pitch of, his team was drawing the ads and stuff like that.
And there wasn't there wasn't distinctive attribution to the spend of results. So a lot of agencies couldn't actually tell you what the results were. Whereas for you have direct attribution to an advertising spend to an actual financial
Digital
sale.
changed everything.
Yeah, and so then you can actually see how much money they're driving, revenue they're driving for their efforts. And so I think that's interesting. We actually don't do a lot of we actually get paid for services, obviously with the result that we will no longer be have a client if we don't produce a success for them, whatever that may be. But we are getting more. In fact, we have a client that we've been very successful of launching a product, and they came to us with another product, and they said, "Hey, we have this other product. We would like maybe for you guys to participate in this with us." But that would mean for us is a lot of sweat equity. So this isn't the numbers, but let's say that we as an agency go, okay, we're going to have to spend $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 of resources just to be able to play with them, but we got skin in the game. And so that at this point, then you have to go, does the product this is like for a new product, does it have product fit? Will there be a demand? Is the product actually going to pay off for us? It's paid off before with a different product, but it's completely different.
You're going to take the risk. Yeah.
So you're putting a lot of risk on a business, and that sometimes you don't have a lot of control over, so you're participating with the customer, but you're not really driving the ship.
Yep.
They're driving it. So your success is really dependent upon them.
Right. I'm in a situation right now. I'm probably going to buy into a company, and it was either $20,000 for 5%, or where I pitched them. I said, I'll give you $20,000, 5%, or I'll give you $30,000 if you let me go on performance. So, and I'll pay, because the $10,000 was like nothing to me, like extra. And then I don't have to, besides the lawyer fees, do an operating agreement. I'm buying into this. And then I'm going to work out a performance thing to get more equity in the company and eventually 51% and take it over. But, I'm big on like the results. I mean, I believe in what I do, and I wouldn't, like you, like when you're looking at that product, like, man, how likely is that another human being is going to give you money? You got to assess all that. For me, I think I'm going to spend about $5,000. Well, I'll say me, the company will. I won't, because I told them, I'm like, well, you're not going to get my expertise, and I'm going to put $5,000 in the marketing. The company's going to pay. I said, for $5,000, I think I can make us money, and make that $30,000. Then after that $30,000, let's talk about, a performance thing. And that way it's no money. But at 41, I still will take consulting clients on. But I've tried to look at maybe equity deals now, because I'm 41, got a wife and a child, and I'm like, I know my value. I mean, I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm bad at. I'm not e-commerce. I don't know anything about e-commerce. If somebody wanted me to do that, I probably had some value, but I've never even done it at all. I know.
To your question earlier, I would just say I don't think this is the answer, but I think the center of the target, I believe, is looking at it from the perspective of people, right? So you've got, whether it's someone that's a full-time employee, or it's someone, or it's an agency, or it's a contractor, freelancer, whatever, or it's you as an owner. I think trying to figure out a situation where it's like, hey, you have some security or certainty in okay, you're going to get paid this for your expertise and effort involved in this, and then the scaling piece. Maybe that's, if it's quantifiable, maybe that's based on revenue or commission or something like that. The sort of, I almost think the employee model, some of the basics of it work well for outside contractors too, right? Because ultimately, just like an employee, they can't control necessarily the product. There's not full control in, okay, is this a great product? Does it really work? I don't know. If you had to vet every product and sign in blood that I believe this product works, you couldn't work with anyone, because it takes, the person that created the product probably doesn't even know that to 100%. But I think that, I'm seeing shifts, and we've tried different things with the ad spend. We don't manage, we do manage a lot of ad spend, but that's not what we lead with. And so we test different scenarios to try and so we do rev shares at times and those kind of things. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out how does my value that I contribute scale as the value, in a nicely proportionate way to the value that's created inside the company that you're working for. and I do think there's some flaws in just the straight ad spend model because
for
it just
sure.
it kind of pulls in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's
The only last thing I'll say is I think it's cool that I think one takeaway here is you say you do some consulting and that kind of stuff. Like you've done it for yourself. Like you've done the thing, you've found the mastery, and then you can do it for other people. I think a lot of agencies, I'd imagine, I find a lot of people don't focus on doing the thing that they do for their clients, for themselves,
They
with
haven't done it.
success. And because it makes sense. Like, okay, I mean, I own my business. I don't own this business that, but if you can, then that's huge for us. Like we own e-commerce brands, and we test and R&D in that. And we've even been we currently are partners in brands, and then we find out what works and we help people do that, or we sell, or we educate them on how to do that, or whatever.
I think that's a good marker to look for in agencies is, are they doing it themselves in addition to doing it for other people, or have they done it?
Why would you not?
Yeah, it's kind of like you don't going to give a financial advisor your money if he hasn't made a lot of money himself.
Ask for the tax return.
Well, guys, this is a good place to wrap up. David, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a fascinating conversation, and I really appreciate you and what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I always enjoyed talking.
This is
All
fun.
right. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.